I think a big thing you see with the content in like the podcast sphere is, and I think this is something we kind of talked about a little bit before, Caleb, is generally you have a lot of young men who want to be the player. They don't want to be the NPC, and they want to be active rather than passive. And I think so many people grow up thinking that, being told that kind of life just happens to you and you just have to roll with the punches. And I think podcasts like Chris Williams, and they're kind of telling you, hey, this is how you can, grip life and, make it go your way. And I think that's great. And I think it's what a lot of young men need, but I think there's also going to be a correction soon. And I think part of that correction is retard maxing and I think this is also one big thing I'm into is mindfulness. And that's a correction where it's, maybe I do need to let life happen to me every once in a while. And I just need to step back. And I don't need to be constantly on the wheel controlling everything. But yeah, I'd say that's like the general craving and the general, like on a cultural level, that's what I'm seeing like in the space of podcasts. One interesting thing though, that the tangent I wanted to go on, when you're talking about small talk and kind of wanting to get to the meat and potatoes, I think that's great. And that's what I've always said too. And I completely agree, but just to kind of play devil's advocate, just for the sense of playing devil's advocate, I think maybe small talk needs to make a comeback because I think small talk, one thing that I think I never understood until recently is I thought, small talk was all conversation was just for the simple purpose of the topic that you're talking about, right? It's so like if we're talking about the weather, it's just because we're really interested in the weather and we really need to know how's the weather out, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is connection, right? And I think in a way, when we talk about podcasts needing to get to the meat and potatoes, it's almost, even though it's a longer format, it's almost because of our shorter attention spans. Maybe we need to be a bit more patient. Now, I'm not saying there needs to be intros again or anything, but mainly in human interactions is, maybe I will small talk and chat it up for a while with just one of my friends or some guy I don't know. And I don't need to be getting something out of the conversation because that's something I used to think where it's like, oh, like this isn't benefiting me. We're not creating anything here. But that's just something where it's the push and pull. And I'm kind of, you presented a thesis. I'm doing an antithesis. Maybe we can get to a synthesis. But that's just some fun. But
yeah, I feel like small talk like can be important, but like I feel like if your relationship is only built on small talk kind of conversations and you really
sure, yeah.
like when you go to dig a hole, you're really digging it really wide but not deep. And something I really appreciate about the relationship like Noah and I have facilitated is we're able to dig like a deep hole. Like we've had some coffee shop conversations that lasted hours and we start digging and digging and digging and we get into the meat and potatoes of it, and it usually has been facilitated by a podcast or an idea we heard, and it's like, let's explore this. Like, this is what's happening. This is what I've heard. What do you think about it? Oh, that's what you think. Like, actually, that helps me like formulate some of my thoughts and helps me maybe take what I was thinking originally into a different direction. And like, I think small talk is a given. I would probably argue that it isn't like a lost form. Well, maybe it is with less social interactions overall, but I think it's already like when we were two-stepping, like all of it was small talk. When I was like two-stepping with someone else, I'm like, oh, like what's your name? Like where are you from? Like what is like your profession? And that really doesn't like dig a deep hole because we don't need to because it's a new person. But like for friendships that friendships that you're trying to create or interactions that go beyond the first like 15 minutes, I do think like those deeper kind of topics are important. Like we talked about some deep stuff last night and I met you yesterday and I know it just, I'm not saying like the purpose of conversation is to find satisfaction necessarily, but it was satisfying being able to talk about that and be able to explore that. And I feel like there's like a certain itch like we have and small talk doesn't necessarily scratch that itch. So
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm just like everything, there's a golden mean, and I'm just more saying let's not throw it out the window.
sure.
And just kind of, it's fun to play devil's advocate and poke at things.
Well, and I think this is very, very interesting because we're all COVID era guys. Like we, we're in a situation where we didn't see anybody for like 6 months to a year, depending on where you were at. And I think a lot of young people who wanted to take agency, like you were talking about, wanted to actually I'm sick of the, oh, hey, how's it going? We want connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of us have prioritized that in our close friendships and made a correction of, okay, maybe some of us were more introverted, weren't particularly interested in getting to know other people, or didn't have friends. And so it's like, let's lean into that. I know I've been there before thinking every single conversation needed to be really valuable, really important, like we're getting something out of it. But I think there is also, too, I had a conversation with a barista in a coffee shop earlier this week. I was like, hey, how's it going today? It's been slow as hell, is what she said. I'm like, all right, it's slow as hell. And then you just, you get it, I don't know, you have a fun little bantery conversation. And there is something to this dynamic where it's creating connection. And you can connect at a deeper level or through this kind of fun, playful level. And it's a give and take with all things. And I think to your point of the retard maxing thing, it's just another one of those corrections of, okay, we've been really leaning into the being heavily introspective, super deeply thoughtful. And then now a lot of stuff in the podcast space is getting more towards laughy, funny, let's have a hang again. We don't need to have this, every single time we have a conversation, it changes our world. It's it's just kind of fun to hang with the guys. That was the Chris Williams and Andrew Huberman, Tom Segura, Matt McCusker episode. They weren't blowing anyone's minds. They were just kind of having a hang of a smart guy, two comedians, an interested guy. And it was a fun time. And I think people are kind of wanting the more lighthearted stuff because it's been an intense last couple years for a lot of people. A lot of my friends have really tried turning their lives around in the last 2 or 3 years. I've done that too. A lot of people have really man, after COVID, just people are lonely. We didn't, the high school Gen Z experience, nothing really enriching. A lot of us grew up in suburbs, not opportunity to have many experiences. We want to get our lives together. We want to grab life by the balls and do something with it. And now we're at the point, it's okay, we've been kind of holding tight to the wheel for a little while. It's kind of want to just arm out the window right here, listen to some lighthearted music. I think that's where a little bit of the cultural vibe is going right now.